بسم الله والحمد لله نحمده حمد الشاكرين ونصلي ونسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطاهرين ثم أما بعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters, praise be to Allah who once again made it possible for us to gather in this place, to have this opportunity to meet each other and to possibly hear something that might benefit us in this life as well as the hereafter. I would like to start my talk today with an incident that happened during the time when Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu was the Khalifa. A man came to Sayyidina Umar and he complained about his son. He said to Sayyidina Umar, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, my son is not faithful to me. لقد عقني عقوق الوالدين. And Umar was very angry because this is a serious matter when a son is not faithful to his parents. So he sent some people to bring the son. And when the son was in front of Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu started to chastise the son. But the son said to Sayyidina Umar, can I ask you a question, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? And Umar said yes. And the son said, does a son have rights on his parents? Does a son have rights on his parents? And I want you to listen carefully. Okay? And Sayyidina Umar said, yes, a son has rights over his parents. And the son then said, and what are those rights? And Sayyidina Umar said, أن يختار أمه أن يحسن اختيار أمه, to choose his mother carefully. That's the first right a son has over his father. Okay? That the father chooses the mother carefully. It means the father starts to think of his children long before they are even conceived. Because once the child is conceived, you can't choose his mother. His mother is chosen already. Okay? And I spoke about this when I spoke about how to choose a wife. And I told you that, remember that the wife you choose is the future mother of your children. Okay? I'll come to that, inshallah. The second thing, أن يحسن اختيار اسمه, to choose his name well. To choose a good name for your son. And I'll speak about it, about this. And the third one, he said, and to teach him, especially Al-Quran and Islam. To teach him, to train him, to prepare him, to educate him. The son said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, my father did not choose a good mother for me. My mother is so and so. We won't go into it. Okay? And he gave me a very bad name. I think he was called Ujl or Ujlan, which is the black beetle. Okay? And he did not teach me. Sayyidina Umar turned to the father and hit him on the head with his stick. And he said to him, Ya hada laqad aqaqta qabla an ya'uqqak. O you have betrayed him before he has betrayed you. Okay? So now let me come to the topic of bringing up children. And I will base my talk on this incident. The first thing is to choose the wife or the mother carefully, to choose a well mother for your child. In our day and age, I think this applies to the environment, it applies to the family, to the household, to where you bring your children up. It means that you have to give your unborn children, as yet, some thought before you even start to work at having them. When you get married, you must put in your head that the natural outcome of this marriage is children. Is this the right place to bring them in? Is Rochdale the right place to bring them in? Will they get the proper education? Will they get the proper upbringing? Will they have the adequate environment that will make them strong and healthy? But before I go into these, let me also say something important, and let me give you a principle that is very important. Okay? Every time one of us sits in this place and starts talking about bringing up children or marriage or whatever, we tend to paint a very idealistic picture. Okay? That's natural. I would talk about the best in everything. But no one is complete. And no situation is complete. So what do? We apply a principle that is well known in Islam. مَا لَا يُدْرَكْ كُلُّهُ لَا يُتْرَكْ جُلُّهُ. What cannot be achieved entirely should not be left completely. If I speak about 100%, you can only get 80%, then get the 80%. Don't leave the 100% altogether. Okay? Get from what you hear from us as much as you can, within reason. So, Akhi, when I talk about education, the best education is private. Okay? If you can provide private education for your children, and you don't, then you have failed them. That's the point. You have failed them. But if you can't provide private education for them, then you couldn't have failed them because you can't provide it in the first place. So when you have children, I want you, before you even have them, think about bringing them up. Choosing a mother today, I spoke about this previously. Many of our brothers in our community, the Asian community especially, they tend to marry someone from back home. Okay? Is that person from back home suitable to be a mother here in the UK in the 21st century? Does she speak English, for example, fluently? Very important point. Your child will go to school. There will be parents' evening. Will your child be proud to have his mother by his side? You can't always be by his side. Will he feel confident and proud? My mother can speak with my teacher. My mother can, put my case forward in understandable English. Or will she not be able to? And therefore she will not go to parents' evening. And therefore she will not be able to stand by her son or her daughter's side. She will not understand what's going on because she speaks another language. She's from another dimension. Very important point. That's why, you see, if you just want to bring up children, fine. Even cats and dogs and they have offsprings. Okay? The mechanical thing is there. Okay? And it will produce children. But we're not just about producing children. We are about producing a unique generation, brothers and sisters. A unique generation means that we have in our head an objective for the future. We want to put the Islamic Ummah back on the map. We don't want to be at the end, at the tail of the human caravan. We want to be at the forefront. How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? By beheading people? That's not the way. We want to do it by being the best in everything, by being the best in technology, by being the best in management, by being the best in economics, by being the best in everything. How are we going to do that? By producing the right generation. And therefore, our children are very crucial and very important to our plan for the future of the Ummah. And therefore, we shouldn't be just satisfied with just producing a well-behaved and a well-mannered child. We want to produce people who will change the earth. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, you know Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, when his mother was pregnant with him, and Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi is a prince. His father is a prince. He's born in leadership. And his father was once entertaining a guest when his mother, who was pregnant with Salah ad-Din, had some pains. And therefore she sent someone to say to her husband that she is not feeling well. Her husband was very angry with her for disturbing him and his guest. And he sent word to her saying, "Who do you think you're carrying in your womb? Do you think you're carrying the liberator of Al-Quds?" He said it mockingly. And she said, "Yes. Yes, I am carrying the liberator of Al-Quds." Don't think that Salah ad-Din was an accident. Salah ad-Din was trained from when he was not, before he was even born, to be the liberator of Al-Quds. Salah ad-Din was brought up to be the liberator of Al-Quds. When Muhammad al-Fatih, when he was a teenager, being taught by his scholar, his sheikh, his mentor, and his mentor told him about the hadith of Rasulullah. And he told him about what the Prophet ﷺ said about Constantinople. He said that نِعْمَ الْأَمِيرِ أَمِيرُهَا وَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشِ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشِ. This is hadith Rasulullah. Blessed is the prince who will liberate Constantinople. And blessed is the army that will liberate Constantinople. You know what Muhammad al-Fatih did? He walked up to the walls of Constantinople and he held his hand in a fist and he stretched out and he said, "I will be that prince." A teenager. "I will be that prince." And he then didn't go back and messed about and played with other children. He went and worked very hard. He mastered many arts and many languages. And he was a strategist. And if you read the story of Muhammad al-Fatih, how he prepared for the liberation of Constantinople, how he sent a special force to liberate a man, a non-Muslim, who was imprisoned in Europe. Why? Because he was an expert in the making of cannons. And they made the longest cannons known to the world at that time. They liberated him from a prison and they took him to Turkey. And how he managed to get his ships overland so that they would come from behind the enemy. Muhammad al-Fatih was made into what he has become from when he was a child. And if that's what we want to do, if we want to turn our children into something, then we have to give it some thought. And we have to prepare hard. Okay? And today, of course, this topic cannot be governed in an hour or so. It's much large for that. But I will try to do my best within the time constraint. Choosing his mother. And in the case of our sisters downstairs or upstairs, choosing the husband. Is the husband that you're going to marry? He might be nice looking. He might be handsome. He might have a lot of money. But is he a good role model for your children to be? Will he be there for them? Will he be kind and gentle? Or will he be a tyrant and beat them and beat the daylight out of them? Will he be someone who will understand them and will encourage them to develop, to reach their potential? Or will he bring them up as his father brought him up and his great-grandfather brought his great-father before him? That's a question, an important question. And therefore don't just accept any man's sister. And don't just marry any woman. But marry someone who is going to devote her time or his time and bring up a new generation to the ummah that is not stigmatized by names and by education and by race and by culture and by I don't know what, but is liberated. And the only thing that governs him is قال الله وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And look deeper than the facade that the child may have. An important point, let me explain this. In Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. Allah describes Luqman as a wise man. And he says, when Luqman said to his son, "Oh my son, do not associate partners, for associating partners with Allah is a grave injustice." Many of us, when we bring our children, we are not really concerned. We may, if it's brought up, okay? But in reality, most Muslim families are not really concerned with the faith aspect of their children. They're concerned that their children are well behaved, well mannered, please and yes and thank you. Okay? They're concerned that their children achieve well at school, they're good at mathematics and English and physics and geography and I don't know what. They are concerned that their children are successful when it comes to business, when it comes to work. But their concept of Allah, something that might elude parents. I was once invited to give a talk on the occasion of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj in a complementary Islamic school. We're talking about what? An Islamic school. Complementary, which means in the evening after hours. So all those children attending the school are Muslims. The occasion is Isra al-Mi'raj. I spoke about Isa alayhi salam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, meeting Isa on his Mi'raj. Okay? And then I asked the children a question. I said to them, what's the relationship of Isa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And of course a lot of children raised their hands. I picked one who was very keen to answer. And when I said to him, yes, he said, Isa is the son of God. There's something wrong here. Something wrong in the school, something wrong in the parents of this child. And this child is not a baby. He's maybe 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. How are you going to erase this and correct it and put it straight back again? The first important thing when it comes to the education of your children is to ensure that they have the right aqidah, the right understanding of faith. What is Allah, who is Allah, and who is Muhammad, and what relation they have, and Isa alayhi salam, and the hereafter, and those concepts are very important. And if you do not make sure that they're there in your children, who is? Because those are the springboard. Without those, everything is rubbish. And then comes, if you read Surah Luqman, you'll understand the priorities. يا بني لا تشرك بالله يا بني أقم الصلاة يا بني إنها إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكون في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله. Those are the priorities in Surah Luqman. We're not here to talk about them. Find out for yourselves. So preparing the environment, choosing the husband, choosing the wife, preparing the environment, make sure that your children, before even they are conceived, will have a good chance of developing to the potential that they can achieve. That's number one. Number two, Umar ibn Khattab says choosing a name carefully. And I will expand on that to include more than just a name. Okay? But the name is very important. And we have to choose the name of our children carefully. Okay? If it's a boy, it has to be a man's name. Some people, when they choose their name, they choose a name that is suitable for a baby. But this child will not be a baby forever. He will become an adult very quickly. And if that name is not suitable for an adult, then he's going to be stigmatized by his name for the rest of his life. Okay? So give the name of your children some thought. And some non-Arabs, unfortunately, not because we're Arabs, but because we speak the language, we know what it means. When they choose a name, they open the Quran and they just pick a name from the Quran, anything. And therefore we know people who are called A'udhu Billah. Astaghfirullah, ya akhi, A'udhu Billah. You know your son, A'udhu Billah. Ya akhi, what's wrong? It's in the Quran, it's barakah, mashallah. But shaitan is also in the Quran. Shaitan, you will find the word shaitan in the Quran. A sister named her child Sharrul Bariyah. Sharrul Bariyah. Astaghfirullah. If you must call him Khairul Bariyah, not Sharrul Bariyah. Don't just choose a name. An Arab sister was driving a car and she put a sticker at the back of her windscreen, the back. And the sticker reads, "Don't come close, I don't know you that well." This isn't the type of sticker that a practicing Islamic hijabi sister puts, but she doesn't know what it means. And some people, they hang curtains and wallpaper with writing that they don't know. It's Japanese or Chinese or I don't know what. Yahi, what are you doing? Do you know what it means? Do you know what it says? They don't know. They hang symbols that they might not know what. My brother had a ring. Of course, we are from Libya. We don't have Hindus and Sikhs, but I know because I live in this country. And his ring had the Sikh symbol, the Hindu symbol. Yeah, this is a symbol. It's obviously, so what does it say? I don't know. So why are you wearing it if you don't know? Find out before you wear it. It's not just about choosing the name, it's about being, And the sister also wearing a hat that had an appropriate writing on it. When she was told about this, she said, I didn't know. Okay, you don't know, I understand that. Why are you wearing something that you don't know? T-shirts today have so many words on them. Some of it is okay, some of it is not. So if you don't know what it says, do not wear it. Do not call your son something that you don't know. Just because you've come across it in the Quran, or you've come across it here or there, or it sounds nice. Choose for a man, for a son, choose a man's name. A strong name. The Arabs, they used to call the names of their, during the time of the Prophet and before, their boys are named against their enemies. For example, Shihab, Layth, the lion, that sort of thing. And their girls are named for them. Rahma, Naima, Rifqa. It reflects on them. The names of their boys reflects on their enemies. Okay? And it is important. The education, for example, I'll give you the education. The education in Egypt and the Arab world, one of the questions that you get in maths is if you had £100 and you invested in a bank that gives an interest of I don't know how much, and after 5 years, how much will you have in your bank? They teach you to deal with interest from when you're a child, which is something that is haram against your religion. In Israel, the question is, if you had a bullet, how many Palestinians will you kill? That's the question. So choosing a name is very, very important. It's also choosing everything about your son. When you have the choice, choosing his school, choosing his friends, and therefore choosing your friends, very important. Your wife's friends will also have an impact on your son. Okay? Very important. Choosing the environment, choosing the street, if you have the choice, where you live. If you choose to live in a neighborhood where there are many drug dealers who sell drugs, then don't be surprised one day if you find some drugs in the pocket of your son. Quite simple. What sort of school does your child go to? It will have an impact on your children. Okay? As long as you do have the right of choice. The right of choice will diminish and become less in your case and move quickly to your children. As they grow older, you must give them more choice. Once your children can buy their own clothes, allow them to buy their own clothes. Your child, start teaching them from 3-4 years. Yes, 3-4 years. Give him a choice. Do you want the red t-shirt or do you want the white t-shirt? Okay, you may hate the color red, and he will choose red. Yes, let him wear it. He's wearing it, not you. He likes it, not you. If you give him the white t-shirt, he doesn't like it, you like the color white, but he doesn't like it, he's not going to wear it. Okay? Teach them to be independent. Teach them to be confident. Okay? Give them money and let them go and buy their own clothes. They will buy something that you don't like. But they know, because they have to live with their, at school and where they go. So they know what's appropriate for them and what's not. And the saying is that we bring up our children to make the right choice. but we allow them to choose. You bring them, you teach them what's right and what's wrong, and then you let them choose, akhi. Otherwise you will not bring confident people. You will not bring people who will make an impact on our world. Choosing the name carefully, giving them the right springboard, but then allow them, once they jump on the springboard, allow them to reach the sky. Allow them to develop and grow on their own. I've been associated with the Islamic schools in Manchester for many years, and on many occasions I've asked both boys and girls, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Doctor, 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 engineer, doctor, engineer, doctor, doctor. Majority of our children want to be doctors. Why do you want to be a doctor? Huh? Why do you want to be a doctor? My father, my mother, they want me to be a doctor. What about you? What do you want? You, what do you want to be? I have to, my parents, Rida al-Walidain, and I have to be faithful to them, and if they want me to be a doctor, forget your parents, what do you want to be? This is another stigma that parents have on our children. Imagine a child who works very hard for his GCSE and then his A-levels, and he gets his A-levels, but not the best of results. He will not be accepted into medical school. He will be accepted into accountancy or management or geography or history or any other subject. He will enter university feeling that he's a failure. Imagine a child who enters university and yet he feels that he is a failure because he did not enter medical school. Can we say that we are preparing a generation that is indeed confident? Not at all. He has not achieved the dreams of his parents by entering medicine. He's a failure. You see what we give our children, what we stigmatize them with? What if he doesn't enter university? He wants to work. Let him. We can't all be university graduates. As long as this is what he wants, as long as he knows, as long as you put in him a compass that seeks the right direction. I know where I'm going, I know my direction. I know that I have to observe Allah in everything that I do. They want Allah, I will be very happy to meet someone who says, I am studying media. I am studying drama. I am studying management. I meet doctors, we have 1,001 of them. And sometimes, these doctors, it amazes me, when I go to hospitals in this country, the majority of doctors are Muslims. Vast majority. I say to myself, are these English people stupid? Why do they allow foreigners to man the health system and get paid a lot of money? Do you know why? Because it's not important. It's not important to, as a career, it does not have an impact on world domination. But come where there is an impact on world domination, and you will find very few Muslims there. Very few Muslims indeed. How many British Muslims who are ambassadors do you know? Why not? Why don't we have a British Muslim ambassadors? Because the foreign secretary is a very tight club. No one enters easily. Yes, now we have a few Muslims who are part of but they're not there yet. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, allow your children to find themselves. Sometimes I come across a child, what do you want to be? I want to be a doctor. I know, and his teachers know that he's not doctor stuff. He's not made from doctor stuff. He will not be a good doctor. He might enter medicine, yes. He might, at the end of the day, make it to medical school. Yes, he might even work as a doctor and make £60,000 a year. Yes, but that's it. He will not be great. But if he was allowed to pursue what naturally comes to him or her, they may become a great artist, a great poet, a great philosopher. Okay? So we have lost many great people to medicine. I'm not against medicine, by the way, don't get this impression. By the way, if that's what you want to be, truly that's what you want to be, by all means, good luck. Okay? But make sure that that's what you want to be, and that's what you're good at. Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam, radiyallahu anhu, a great companion of the Prophet. Do you know his mother? Asma bint Abi Bakr, radiyallahu anha, radiyallahu anhu. He was, because Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, radiyallahu anha, did not have any children, she took Abdullah and brought him up as her own. So Abdullah ibn Zubair was brought up in the house of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he was born during the Hijrah. During the time of Umar, radiyallahu anhu, when Umar was Khalifa, and Umar was a very hard man. If he's going with his entourage, with his people around him, if he turns around to them, they will jump out of their skin. And they said to him, "Oh ya Umar, you scare us." And he said to them, "Abil haqq, afil haqq." In truth, they said, "Yes, in truth." He said, "Then may Allah increase my fear in your heart." Inna Umar ibn al-Khattab was no man to mess around with. Okay? One day he was walking down the street of Medina with his people around him and with him, and the children were praying at the other side of the street, and when they saw Umar, they ran away, except Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam. He stood his grounds, and Umar came to him, and he said to him, "Why didn't you run away like the other children?" And Abdullah looked at him and said, "I haven't done anything wrong to run away. And beside, the road is wide enough for both of us." Cheeky little bugger, isn't he? And that's what we would have thought of him, as being cheeky. I encourage cheeky. It means that that child thinks for himself. And I encourage that. Yes. Okay, I like cheeky. Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam, while, as a child, he saw that men came to the Prophet to give allegiance to him. So he gathered the children and he said, "Let's go and make allegiance to the Prophet. Bay'ah to Rasulullah." And they walked into the mosque. Imagine, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the most powerful nation on God's earth at that time. It has challenged the Romans. It has challenged the Persians, this new emerging empire headed by Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And we're talking about the place of governance, the presidency, if you like, or the palace, the mosque. in Medina. So when we say Abdullah walked into the mosque of the Prophet, it's the government. It's where Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and Umar radiallahu anh, and Uthman and Ali, and that's where they meet, and that's where they gather, and that's where they plan and plot, and that's where they run the country. Abdullah walks up to the Prophet. Prophet ﷺ doesn't say to him, "Go away, we don't have time." He looks at him and says, "Yes, Abdullah, how can I help you?" And Abdullah says, "We've come to give allegiance to you as men do." The Prophet ﷺ doesn't turn around and say, "I don't have time for your stupid, playful stuff. Get out of here." He says, "Yes, stretch your hand." And he takes the hand of Abdullah and he shakes it and he accepts the allegiance of Abdullah. You see the confidence building, the trust. This is how we should bring up our children. Not stigmatize them by taking away from them all right to choose. I told you about this young man comes up to me and says, "Uncle, I have a problem." And I say, "Son, what's your problem?" He said, "Uncle, I got married. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, I got married." Wait, no, uncle, I don't want my wife. No? Where is she? She's in back home. Okay. So, is the problem in not being able to bring her over? No. I don't want to bring her over. Do you want to go over to her? No, I don't want to go over. Subhanallah, ya akhi, you don't want to bring her, you don't want to go there, and yet you married her. And I still can't understand what the problem is. He says, "Well, I had to marry her. I was forced to marry her." Who forced you, my son? My mother, Allah, forced me. Allahu Akbar. How can your mother force you? You're a man. Your mother can't force you to marry anyone. Okay? Is this how we build our new generation, our ummah? As a faithful son, I might come to my mother and say, "Mother, you are the best woman on God's earth who knows me. You know me more than any other woman on God's earth today. Okay? And I love you so much. And I want you to choose a wife for me." That's amendable, that's commendable, that's excellent, beautiful. This is the way it should be. "Mother, choose a wife for me. Go and find me a wife." And your mother goes and finds someone for you. She says, "Look, I've got 3 girls for you. I've got so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. Choose one of them." And I will say, "Tell me something about this." She will say, "This is this." And okay, is she good looking? Is she this? Is she that? Then I might agree to marry one of them. Or she might not even give me a choice. She say, "I found one girl for you." I can accept it, I can reject it. Okay? But if I accept to marry that woman, then I don't come and say, "My mother forced me to marry this woman." I married her. My mother chose her for me. But it's my choice. And I'm responsible. And I chose to marry the one that my mother chose for me, because I know that my mother will choose the best for me. Yes, that's commendable. I stand up and respect that. But I don't respect someone who says to me, "My mother forced me to marry this woman." You're committing haram. This woman is a human being. She is stranded between the heavens and the earth. She is married, and yet she is not. Who's responsible for this woman? You, her husband. You married her. A complete, full marriage. When we make marriage contract, every woman we ask wali, she must bring a wali. But we never ask a man to bring his wali. Because a man is his wali. When I married a couple, I don't ask for the permission of the man's father. Not concerned. As long as he stands with me, fully a man grown up, saying, Muslim, adult, khalas. I don't ask for permission of his father or his mother, or that's it. That's his concern. Girl, where's your wedding? There are reasons for it. The man is responsible for himself. We have to bring our children, we have to instill in them right and wrong, halal and haram. But we have to let them go. We have to let them choose for themselves, be independent, and we have to encourage them to question. Okay, we have to encourage them to question. A friend of mine went to an Arab country to study Islamic studies, and he was dismayed with them. He was really frustrated with the way they teach. They spoon feed you. University level, and they spoon feed you. And ya akhi, you're not encouraged to question. Question, that's cheeky, that's an insult, that's qillat adab. Bad manners, you don't question. You just take. I don't want that education. I want the British education, where you question everything. Read the Quran, akhi. The Quran teaches us questions. Every time someone claims something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, where's your evidence? Where did you get it from? Today we have so much rubbish piled on us. Educated people, akhi, believing anything. Why? Because they have not trained to question. There's no training for this. We need to bring up children who will question things. I've been told that I've got 5 minutes, 1 minute ago. Anyway, there are things that parents have to be worried about. And the first thing is that your son will reach adulthood, and things will happen to him, changes, hormones. Okay, do not treat him as a Muslim brother individual. He's not your child. Well, he is your child, but he's not a child anymore. Okay, and therefore you have to treat him with respect and with dignity. And respect and dignity does not mean you will search his room when he's not there, or you try to find out what he's looking at on the internet, or some parents even suggested that they want to put a hidden camera to see what their children do. Who gave you that right? Let's assume a worst case scenario. A mother is cleaning the bed of her teenager son, she finds some pornography. What does she do? She asks me, she puts it back and pretends that nothing has happened. And she tries to solve that problem in a different way. Speaks to someone from outside the home, someone who will address the issue without referring to the incident in a very subtle way. But if you bring it up, what's this? Astaghfirullah! You have exposed him. You have penetrated the sitr, the shield that protects him. Okay? Next time, he will walk in with pornographic material. What are you going to do? As long as the sitr is there, keep it and maintain it. And don't see everything, and don't hear everything, and don't comment on everything. But deal with things, especially if your child reaches the age of adulthood. He is khalas, independent. from an Islamic point of view, he's his own responsible person. Deal with it in a logical way. Okay? Some parents, the other day, my son had someone stay over with them. The first night. I thought nothing about it, one of my son's friends is coming over to stay with him for the night. They're going to watch some film or something like that. The second night, my son came to me and said, so-and-so wants to stay over tonight as well. I looked at him and said, has he been kicked out of home? And he said to me, yes. You kick your son out of the house. Where do you want him to go? It's going to make a worst case scenario. Whatever the problem, solve it. And when a problem comes, believe me, it's not born of that day. Some parents come to me and say, Ya akhi, wallahi, I don't know where this problem come from. Yes, it was there under your nose, but you didn't notice. Let me also refer to an important point, quality time. You must spend quality time with your children. When I spoke about, last week I spoke about the round table. That's one means of getting your children, even when they are 3 or 4 years, get them involved. Another thing, another tool that I will give you is that you must have a family day. You must fix a day. You choose. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever day. Every week, this is a family day. This is holy. Don't touch it. People come to me and say, Akhi, we've got something, a program on that day. That's my family day. If I told them, I'm sorry, but you see, this is a family day, my children and my grandchildren and my wife will meet together, they will say to me, Ya Akhi, what's this? Yani, your family are always there. You can meet them on Monday, you can meet them on Tuesday. So what do I say? I say, I've got an appointment. I've got an appointment with my wife. And therefore, I make appointments with my wife. I say, wife, I'm going to meet you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It's an appointment. Because I make an effort to respect this family day. We go out together. Go to a park, go to a restaurant, have a meal together, stay at home and talk and go on a holiday. Very important. A good friend of mine, a very highly placed politician, he eventually took a holiday and he drove to France with his family, with his wife and his son. And when he came back, I asked him, and he said to me, I've just discovered that there is a man living in my house whom I didn't know, his son. He didn't know his son. They don't meet. Son goes to school, father goes to work, father comes very late, the son is out, he's in his room playing with his PlayStation. They don't meet and they don't talk. They live together in the same house. And the problem with this is that we assume that we have time together. We don't. If we don't make time, we don't have time together. If you don't make time for your children, where you intentionally sit with them, no computer, no iPads, no iPhones, nothing like that, you intentionally on Tuesday, every week, from 6 to 8, we meet as a family and we discuss certain issues. Turn it into a circle. Read Quran, let your son say Hadith, give them quality time. If you don't, you will find that your son has grown up and you have not sat with him and you have not spoken to him. And one day he will tell you, Dad, I've been trying to speak to you, but you have not been listening. You say, son, I've always been there for you. Yes, physically you're there. Listen. You can hear him speaking, but you're not listening. You're not listening. Learn how to listen. You know how sometimes we have background music. We hear it, but we really paying attention. That's how we treat our families and our wives. Background noise. Listen. Listen carefully. Because if you don't listen carefully, tomorrow you're going to have a major problem which you could have avoided now. Okay, وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم سائر المسلمين.